และเดินจงกรมซ้ำแล้วซ้ำอีกตลอดเวลา 7 วันเรื่องนี้นักวิทยาศาสตร์ได้พิสูจน์แล้วว่าการทำสิ่งใดซ้ำๆจะเปลี่ยนแปลงสมองของเราใน2 ลักษณะคือทำให้เนื้อสมองส่วนที่ใช้งานบ่อยมีการเจริญเติบโตมากขึ้นนอกจากนั้นการทำซ้ำๆยังเป็นการสร้างเส้นทางเดินของกระแสประสาทเส้นทางใหม่ซึ่งจะทำให้พฤติกรรมการรู้สึกตัวกลายเป็นนิสัยใหม่ของเราในที่สุด
People who do some kind of meditative practice sort of routinely, pretty much of the time, 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, 45 on a good day. In other words, people like me, real world, okay, they actually have measurably thicker brains in certain key regions. So the number one region up here is called the insula. It's a part of the brain, and again, there are 2 of them, that is involved in what's called interoception, tuning into the internal state of your body, and as well as your deep feelings.No wonder. They're tuning into themselves. Probably a lot of what they're doing is practicing mindfulness of breathing. They're getting in touch. They're staying really present with what's going on. No wonder. They're using, and therefore they're building, much like a muscle, by analogy, literally. They're using it so they build it, the insula. The second region is the frontal regions of the prefrontal cortex, the frontal areas, that are involved, again, in controlling attention.No surprise here as well. They're using attention, so they're getting more control over it, and they're strengthening its neural basis. The third region up at the top is somatosensory cortex. It's a part that basically they're tuning into their body. It's less relevant for our purposes. The point is that people who routinely practice something, in this particular case, mindfulness meditation, build up the neural substrates that are its basis.
Happiness can be trained because the very structure of our brain can be modified. So what he's talking about here is neuroplasticity. Our repeated experiences shape our brain. Does this remind you of anything? Right? It's exactly what this monk told me. What we practice becomes stronger. Everything that we practice, every single moment matters.Sarah Lazar did this wonderful early research, and what she found is that meditators, the actual parts of their brain that have to do with attention, concentration, emotional intelligence, compassion, those parts of the brain actually get stronger, bigger. It's called cortical thickening, and that this thickening is correlated with practice. What we practice gets stronger. So the way I like to think of it is we have these super highways of habits.And they're just like, they're well-grooved pathways in our brain, right? They just, they're what we automatically do. And what mindfulness is helping us start to do is to kind of like build, kind of like, I think of it as like digging a country road. You're clearing all the brambles in your brain. You're creating this new neural pathway that's like, oh, I'm going to actually do it with compassion this time, or with a little more patience, or a little more presence. And so instead of going down that same superhighway of habit,we're shifting and we're going down a different pathway. And every single time that we do this, we're strengthening that pathway so that eventually that pathway becomes the habit.